Welcome to Cheese in Depth, and I'm Michael Landis, and today we're going to talk with Jonathan from Banner Butter.
We're really excited to bring to you guys this idea that really well-made cultured butter not only is unique on its own and is made in its own way, and what we do here at Banner Butter is kind of unique, but it really deserves a place on a cheese or charcuterie board that's going to kind of bring out the flavors of whatever you put there, but definitely deserves a place. So if you're ready, Michael, I think we can get started. Hope that gives a little clearer idea, or at least a sense of what we do here every day. All right, so this is our sea salt. What we do with this is we use two types of hand-harvested sea salt that we get from out west. The first is the fine sea salt, and that's really just to add a layer of flavor. The coarse sea salt is for texture, and again, one of the reasons I chose it for this is I thought that it could stand up to some things, even though it is kind of the truest expression of what we're tasting here today, of what we do here, and that terroir that we're getting from the cows. But you know, when you taste it, that salt's going to bring through some of that funkiness that we get in the ripening process. All of that depth of flavor that we built up through that 36-hour process is going to come through, and then you're going to get a little texture there. So if you're tasting along at home, I might just smell it. I mean, there's already a big difference between most butters that you're finding on someone's table. And then I would just taste it and get the mouthfeel. Again, we get our butters to 84 to 87% butter fat, so it's going to have a much richer mouthfeel for you.
Well, you know, one of the things that we talked about was being able to pair it up with different things. So on my cheese board, I have the butter set up with, and you have the sea salt starting on here. So
okay. I'm sorry. Which one did you start with?
That's okay. We can shift to that. You can see that I got the sea salt right here. And that is with the Truffle Tremor. And this is the Cypress Grove. So this is essentially very much like their Humboldt Fog, whereas it has a nice little bloomy rind on it, and it's filled with truffles. And so adding a little bit of the sea salt butter really makes this a very decadent flavor characteristic of having all of that extra fat. And so I paired it up with the Rustic Bakery, and these are organic sourdough flatbreads, and it's olive oil and sea Gris, which is just really simple when you put those together. But really, to top this off, a nice charcuterie. And you and I have a great friendship with Kevin with the Spotted Trotter. So yeah. He gave us some duck prosciutto, which I think is just totally crazy to be able to go with something like that. I think it's really magnificent that we get to play with something this decadent in our pairing. And then on top of that, you know, you got to have a beverage. You know, you just can't just have that. So keeping with the Georgia theme, originally I was going to use another pale ale because I really like to have something that's going to really cut into all this butter. And so I'm using, which is right across the street from the ASW that we were at, is the SweetWater 420, you know, their extra pale ale, which will kind of help cut into this a little bit because you really need something to, you know, really kind of kick that together.
Sure. Yeah, and so I stopped by to talk with our friends at Spotted Trotter last night, and I didn't get exactly what you got, but I think that does talk to exactly what we're saying here, that you know, there are many different unique ways that you can go with any of these. And we got, I got the mole, which is sheep and goat with a ash rind running through the middle. And they were really adamant that I try each one on its own and then try them together. And when I tried them together with the duck prosciutto, it just took another level. And then when I added the sea salt, the coarse sea salt and the fine sea salt just kind of punched that richness that was already there up. And yeah, I think you're absolutely right. You need something to cut through that, like what you have. I don't have any SweetWater IPA on me.
Well, this is their 420 pale, but
Okay.
IPA, I like a session IPA would work really well. Something that isn't too hoppy. But what's really unique, and I don't think that this is, you would find this on a traditional cheese board, but I think this is something that really works incredibly well, is having that butter and sea salt flavors that work so perfectly with the cheese, because it's the cheese has got the butter in it. This just kind of amplifies all the flavors, brings out the truffle in the cheese, and this duck prosciutto is, its richness, you know, the heavy or rich flavors that you get from the duck really blend in. And I was thinking that maybe it would be overwhelming, all these big flavors, but they blend so well and easy together that it's delicious.
Right. I think one of the things that and one of the reasons I was so excited when we got to meet was I think that this is overlooked almost, because people have that conception that it's going to be too much. There's going to be too much rich flavor when you're adding these things together. But really, they blend seamlessly together. And, you know, when I talked to you in the past, you know, you have this gradation of flavors of butter that naturally come with different cheeses. And, you know, if we think about it, not hindering, not taking away from the cheese or the meat, but adding something to it, I think is a preconception that I hope that this helps to break down. So I'm sorry I went out of order there, but what do you have up next? I mean, I'll continue to eat this duck prosciutto because they do amazing things over at Spotted Trotter.
Yeah, that's actually the first time that I've ever had his duck prosciutto. And when I was setting this up, I was thinking, and especially looking at the color of this, because this is, it's absolutely beautiful and sliced so thin that it's just such a nice addition. You could really build little mini snacks, appetizers with this by putting these together. And you just need a little dab of the butter, but the butter really brings out so much of the flavors across the board that it's just wonderful, really enjoyable. That's the first thing that I have to say about that. So looking at what we have on here is, why don't we go with the roasted garlic then for our next one? How does that sound?
Sounds perfect. Yeah, roasted garlic with basil and parsley. Probably our best seller. We started out small, so we started going to the farmers markets here in Atlanta at the get-go to sell. And I think this is always and continues to be one of our best sellers at the farmers market. We are throughout the Southeast in Whole Foods. So you can find it there if you happen to be in the Southeast. We do ship this all throughout the United States. and you can find us in places in Texas, in Central Texas at Central Market. But this is, we do have to give a shout out to Senduran Farms. They give us our herbs for this. Really bright, fresh basil and parsley, and then that roasted garlic that we add to it. And I wanted to put this up there first. Obviously, the sea salt is good for showing you what the base of all of these butters are going to be and how that flavor can carry over. But then when we're adding more complex flavors, how our butter and that richness that you start off with can be taken somewhere else with some love and care. So this is, and you paired this with fresh goat cheese?
Yes. On mine, I use the Vermont Creamery goat cheese for this, and knowing that goat cheeses do very well with flavors to them, so it's not like it's going to be a big jump for that, for the being able to pair these up. Adding more flavor in, there's Vermont Creamery does a mixed milk version of their goat cheese. So really what we're doing is we're making a mixed milk version of the goat cheese, of the bloomy rind, of these things. When you think about it, that you do, this isn't anything new. The difference is that we're using a higher quality and a cultured butter, which takes it to a complete different level. And then we use the Trotter Bresaola for this, and which is, this again is very, very meaty and adds a lot of meat flavor to it. And I paired it up with the Brewer's crackers, which are made with the spent grains, and they are just sea salt. Didn't need to add anything there. And for my beer pairing, I went with something local here in Tampa, and that is the Cigar City, the Tocobaga Red IPA. So this is what we really see here is you can see the maltiness in here. So I have an IPA that's malty, and that's really where I thought we wanted to go, because we have all of this tang, all of this butter, and we need to kind of throw some hops in here, but also you've got all these flavors that need a little bit of warmth to them, because you got the tanginess and the flavor. So that was the direction that I went.
Great, yeah. And we went with their Bresaola for this one?
Yes. Yeah, the Bresaola is the one that was that I thought would really work. It's very meaty, and that the amount of creaminess of this butter. A lot of times once you get to room temperature, you still get that, I wouldn't say plastic feeling, but that thickness in here. This is cream. This is it's just so decadently rich.
Yeah, it's amazing when you taste the two side by side, and it's almost like they're two different products. And we're just very proud of what we do here, and we think that that there's a place for this for everyone, and we're excited to get more people to try it. But
the tanginess of the goat cheese, you get that lemony flavor, and then adding in a little bit of the butter with the garlic, the parsley, the basil. They work perfect together. A little bit of sea salt in here, and then of course a little bit of the meaty Bresaola. And this is probably one of the most decadent little appetizers.
yeah. Yeah, I did I don't have the beverage pairing to do, so I'm just munching on some pickled red onions that I made just to kind of cut through that because it is so decadent. I don't know if I'm going to make it all the way through without something.
You know, when I was setting this up, one of the things I was thinking about is that the Three Little Pigs, they do a caper, the caper fruit. Yeah. And I thought that would be absolutely perfect as a little addition to this to add a little bit more. But, you know, that's like one more.
Yeah.
We're taking it from 10 to 11, you know, because it's everything that you would want. This is such the contrast of the tangy goat cheese with the creamy butter, with the flavors in it, with the meat flavors and the sea salt. It's just really well balanced in richness. But again, take a little bit of something with, I think just a traditional IPA, depending on the style. I think if you were on a East Coast version, you would get a little bit more of the noble version hops in here instead of the citrus or piney, because those really wouldn't work very well with this. You really need that earthiness, and that's where a red IPA comes in really uniquely and well balanced for all of the flavors.
And you said that company's down with you in Tampa?
Yeah, this is Cigar City. As a matter of fact, tomorrow I'm doing a Cigar City pairing with Cigar City at 4 o'clock tomorrow on Friday.
Awesome. And just to give another shout out to our good friend Kevin over at Spotted Trotter. You're doing something with him later on this month?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, Kevin is going to be coming on this time. Kevin with his charcuterie with the Spotted Trotter, and he's going to be pairing up his charcuterie with Jessica Little from Sweetgrass, which I have one of her cheeses coming up very soon. So awesome. That'll be really fun. They've been friends for years, so it'll be fun having both of them on. And oh my God, just you know, I have to add another hour of exercise in the morning just to compensate for the amount of crazy good charcuterie, butter, and you know, so many things recipe-wise on butter. I've been a butter fan for a very long time, and being able to use that in recipes, even simple potatoes, taking this rosemary, garlic, and parsley, slicing up some red potatoes, putting that on there, wrapping it in aluminum foil, putting it up on the grill to, you know, kind of melt and crisp up a little bit. They are the best potatoes in the entire world. I mean, it's a meal in itself.
Very simple, you know, with our seasonal right now, one of our seasonals right now is lemon chive, and just, you know, going down to the fish market and grabbing a pound of shrimp and just throwing that in some paper, throwing that on the grill, or if you don't have a grill, throwing it in your oven at like 400 for 10, 12 minutes. It's done for you. You know, you pull it out and it's perfectly cooked and full of richness. So, you know, we can talk more about what you can use for these in cooking. Later on, we have the cinnamon, cardamom, ginger. I'm sure people have already thought of what to do with that. I did have a good pastry chef friend up in New York, Jacqueline Zion. She took some of our red pepper mash and she actually made some croissants with it. You know, laminated it and got a really great flavor that she was serving with some fried eggs and avocado on there. But yeah, I mean, it's an amazing thing to cook with. Taking just a simple recipe that your grandmother gave you of chocolate chip cookies and adding cultured butter to it, you get a better idea of what she was going for in the first place.
Yeah. All right. So let's see what we got next coming up here.
Well, the red pepper mash is absolutely one of my favorites. It's a mainstay at my house. I mean, if I'm being truthful here, because I get to make this stuff, all these are mainstay at my house. but this one ends up in dishes that I'm making all the time. It's unique in that we're using fermented Fresno peppers in making it. So you're not only getting that kind of funkiness and depth of flavor from the butter itself, but we're adding to that with the fermented Fresno peppers. And this was really something because of Drew and Elizabeth's trips in Europe to start off with. They were tasting these amazing Escalette butters, and they wanted, you know, the American, a little more rowdy version of that. This, I do think, just pairs so well with aged cheeses and a little bit meats that have a little bit of funk to them. But the nice thing about this, you know, we're getting in these fermented peppers all the time, so we're tasting them because they are a natural product. That some batches are obviously going to be much hotter, scorching compared to others. So, you know, kind of get in there and really tweak them each batch. But the goal that I'm going for each time is that it's just this nice subtle heat that sits kind of in the back of your throat, never building to a point where it's just, you know, kicking you. You can't feel like you can take another bite or anything like that, but a subtle reminder that this beautiful fermented Fresno pepper is there. And I'm excited to see what you think of it with the cheese and with the meat and them together.
I needed something that would be a little sweeter and also have a little bit of flavor characteristics of buttery flavor, but I didn't want the butter to be the key. I wanted really to have some sweetness, and that's why I went with the Carr Valley, their aged Gouda, because this is really a direction of being able to get a little bit of maple and caramel. And I really thought that the red pepper mash and the little bit of the sweet caramel, and then with the buttery flavor that's going in there, would work really well. And on top of that, I really wanted to have a little bit of sweet herb. And that's why I chose the Firehook rosemary sea salt organic Mediterranean baked crackers. I thought that would be really a good combination of flavors. And then, you know, going with Genoa salami, I thought would be, you know, really, again, bringing all those flavors out.
Yeah.
And I just love the way that the flavors kind of jump, they go down, they kind of mix around, because you get different things that go across the flavor palette. And so what I was trying to figure out, and I think was the hardest part about this pairing, ended up being what beer was I going to serve with it. Because at first I was thinking, well, you know, I probably want to go with a wine or a Prosecco, something like that. It had some effervescence that kind of worked there. And then I thought about my little friend, Mama's little yellow pills with Oskar blues, and having a Pilsner with the bread. This is kind of like having a biscuit, you know, because, you know, or beer is liquid bread. So this has got a nice little biscuit that kind of helps, but it's the carbonation, the effervescence is really what really helps that out.
Yeah, you just won a special place in our in Courtney, our director of ops, heart when you brought that out. Yeah, I can totally see where you're saying and where you were going to some, you know, even like a light white with just a little bit of pentéance, you know, to dance around. I always used to like spiciness and that just little kind of dance on your tongue that some of those like whites from Germany might do.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that when you have that spiciness there and having the sweetness of the Gouda tones that down. But you get, I think what is so cool is you get the flavors of the red pepper, and the heat drops down to a very manageable part.
Yeah.
I think that's just really great. And of
Yeah,
course,
it definitely lets you know that it's there at first, but then as you continue, it hits this much more kind of almost like a bass note in the back, right?
well, you know, my first thought was that you sent me home with some, I believe, jalapeno butter, and as that we're pretty big fans of heat and that, but I have to tell you that I was questioning on whether or not that was jalapeno or ghost pepper.
That actually was this. In you know, that is you know, again, dealing with natural products. We definitely try to make sure that we keep a consistency. It's very important to us. But I've had every once in a while one that hits me a little bit more than another. But yeah, we're definitely happy with how this turned out.
I've so far in the 24 segments that I've done, I've had 2 ghost peppers. One was with Pine River, and I still can, I believe I'm still tasting that somewhere along the line. And another one was with Ellsworth with Bashers, that they had that. And I have to say that that probably is way beyond my palate enjoyment.
Yeah.
But this red pepper has some heat to it that I think is like if you're doing a recipe, a Spanish recipe, that you do need some heat in it. But even I would think even a Thai recipe that needs a little bit of butter, this would actually be amazing on some noodles and some you know, flavors that you really want to kick up that flavor profile, on being able to add the butter and also the
Well, I
real
mean, when you're talking about those like Southeast Asian flavor profiles, I mean,
yeah.
we're always talking about the heat, but you're also talking about a funkiness that's coming behind it with like fish sauces, and you're getting it with this. So that's, you know, that's where I kind of think that comes in.
Yeah, there's just so many applications that I could see having for this. That and again, what you have to, and I just not only appreciate but love is just how creamy this is. This is literally melt in your mouth on the palate. There is just an incredible amount of the cream that's in here.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Nothing like what I've seen with, I've played with a lot of butters,
yeah.
and this is definitely beyond that scope of, well, it's a nice blended butter. This is just so, I wouldn't say, I think when you think about butter and you think about its richness, there's a level where you go, well, it's so rich that it's unpalatable because it's too much butter. It's not too much butter. It's actually, the butter flavor is a little subdued, but the cream here, the what you really get out of a butter out of here is just, that's the amazing part.
It really comes down to the amazing farmers that we have and the dairies that we work with, and working and ensuring that they're well treated, and they're giving us the best that they possibly can give by us treating them as well as they can be treated.
Yeah. Well,
it does make a difference. You know, it's not just taglines. It's not just something that you put on a box to make it move at the local grocery store. These are, you know, the idea behind this is to make the best possible product that we can, and I think that's what we're doing here.
And what I think is truly unique about it is how well they blend or work with different cheeses. You know, I picked the aged Gouda because I really wanted to bring some sweetness to it, the maple, the caramel on there. But
I'm really jealous that you got the Gouda there. I couldn't find any last night, and I think I may have to stop on the way home to pick some up just to, to bear it along.
Well, I would say that you could probably do this with a triple creme brie, because the amount of butter that would work together with this, this wouldn't be bad with the truffle either. You know, I think that there's a lot of
I will tell you
in the different styles of cheese that you can work with versus being, oh, well, this only works with this. These flavors really cross over. I mean, as I'm tasting these, I'm thinking about, oh, I could use it with this, or I could use it with that. So if you're going to take this and make a cheese board and add a little bit of butter on it, you can do just about anything with it. It's not a, this is not one of those things where you have to be so exact that, oh, I want to pair this with that. This is a broad stroke in its flavor characteristic.
And it allows you to play. It allows you to really enjoy what you're doing. And the other thing that, like, you know, the cost of importing a beautiful cheese from France and buying this from us, there's a big difference. And you know, if you're doing this for a restaurant or just on your own, and the fact that you have this and it's such a different, unique product, I think lends a lot to it. But I did want to mention, I got from our friends at Spotted Trotter the boxcar, the Rocket Rabiola.
Oh.
So I just had that with some of that, and yeah, it's just absolutely beautiful. Did you want to move on to the last of our pairings? I know you were getting short on time.
There isn't anybody to kick us off.
That's true.
All right, here we go.
All right.
And there's actually a question coming up, and I'll get to that once you get through here.
So yeah, this is our cinnamon cardamom ginger. You know, when I was thinking about the pairing for this, I thought, you know, I think some of the funkier cheeses, especially funky blues, often have almost like a cheesecake kind of note to it, that little touch of sweetness. I think this plays off of that, but also if you're kind of going on those cheeses that are just, you know, absolute monsters, I think that this will kind of balance that off. I think it's also good, like, you know, a lot of times we're used to putting spiced nuts or candied nuts onto a plate as something that's going to match with our cheeses. You know, I think this does the job just as well. Or if you wanted to roast your mixed nuts in this, you'd have a delicious way to go about it too. So if you're tasting along at home, if you want to smell this one, I mean, I think the cardamom really comes out up front for me, at least. And it should be warm spices. It should be all those things that you love coming home to in the fall and in the winter to smell baking.
I went with the Asher Blue.
Okay.
I wanted to have some sweetness. As a matter of fact, I thought, you know, what would work really well would be a mascarpone or creme fraiche, you know, adding those in there. But that's what everybody would do. I mean, you know, that's no different than, I wouldn't say that it's a bad choice. It's a great choice. It's a magnificent direction to be able to go in. But I really wanted to be able to show how unique and diverse that you can get with these boards, you know, by using the, you know, the blue on this with the flavors, because there's a sweetness. And one of the reasons why I picked Asher Blue is that when you talk about blues and you talk about the flavor characteristics, you have a wide variety. You know, this is more of an earthy. You can see how beautiful this rind is on here, which is completely edible. It's a natural rind. And so I paired this up with the black pepper sorghum, which I think is just, you know, really cool to have that little bit of heat with the cinnamon and the ginger. And then something that I've done a lot is these are the Three Little Pigs Petite Toast. And what Petite Toast can do is they can actually kind of take away an intensity. I use them a lot for really robust washed rind cheeses because they can be overwhelming in some ways. But especially if you have guests or friends that are, you know, fair weather cheese friends, you know, I mean, I even got fair weather cheese friends, and so I want to help them out, and this kind of does that. And then I wanted to kind of sweeten the deal a little bit here with the beer. So I went with the New Belgian. This is the mothership, and it's the wit beer. And I really adore these, and you can see how you know, hazy and light that this is. So we're adding carbonation. We're adding a little bit of the sweet flavors. So we're kind of bouncing back in here, but what they do is as we add each of them together, they kind of help each other to bridge the earthy to the sweet back to the little bit of sweet. So you kind of get a big balance when you put them together. Individually, they're going to be, you know, hold on their own, but you know, on here. And when you're talking about blues, you know, I say this so many times that people say, well, you know, I tried blue and I don't like blue. It's like going into the produce department and taking a bite of a vegetable and saying, I don't like vegetables. Well,
Right.
there's a ton of different flavor characteristics. And this happens to be earthy, which I think works really well with the cinnamon and the ginger and the butter flavors. That's me.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've always been a lover of blue, but you know, when I worked in restaurants up in New York, getting someone who would tell me that you know, I just can't have that. I had it once and I don't like it. It's a thrill to be able to guide someone into something that's completely new for them, and turn them on to something that they otherwise thought they didn't like. I will say that I also I tried the black pepper sorghum, but I also brought out one of my favorites that Spotted Trotter does. Their spicy chupacabra. It's a goat's meat, and I just wanted to see how this would stand up, just because we're having so much fun. Might as well. And there's a little bit of sweetness there too.
I could really see that, you know, these spices work really well with creme fraiche and mascarpone and that. And but I think that would be just amplifying the flavor characteristic that you already have. You know, you already have that built into here. You have the cream, you have the butter, you have all those flavors through there. So, you know, you really have the structure already. So kicking it into something different. So maybe you might not like or appreciate an earthy blue, but like the tanginess that you get from a goat cheese, you could go a little bit more tangier with the blue by adding in just like a gorgonzola or a traditional blue instead of going with this. But I like the way that it kind of cuts across. It's more robust to me, and the flavor characteristics really transcend the petite toast. Really mellow out. I think the intensity that you get, and I think it's really odd that you have a cracker or toast that does that, but that's just its characteristic.
You've given us a great vehicle to talk about why we think this is, and I think you're exactly right. This accelerates anything that you put it in front of. You know, any food that you have any type of cooking you want to do, this brings up that flavor, and you can play around with a lot of different things, even in one meal, whether it's starting with your cheese or charcuterie plate, moving into some appetizers just a little bit, and then into your entree, and then on to dessert. So you have tons of options to play around, and I hope that everyone who attended has a little bit better idea of what cultured butter is, what we do here at Bear and Butter, but why cultured butter gives you so much more depth of flavor.
I appreciate the time that you've taken. We got some comments, no questions, but comments, but appreciating the great detail that you went into of being able to explain the differences so people understand that. So that's very helpful. I hope that we can, with your diversity of flavors, that we can actually make this an annual event, maybe
I hope so.
right around fall time, and do some getting ready for the holidays or something.
Yeah, and we do one of our winter seasonals is a dark chocolate butter, and we pair up with Chocolatto, which is another Atlanta-based company, and they've been around for about 5 years, and we get some of their cocoa from Peru and some of their cocoa nibs, and I get to put that in with this butter and make basically the world's most decadent chocolate frosting in a churn. But it's amazing, and it'll be back next year. We're all out this year, but if you're new to butter, look us up, hit us up. We'd love to send you guys some tastes, and if you have any questions, you can find me at Jonathan R, as in Russell, at bannerbutter.com. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you guys may have.
All right, cool.
Thank you so much, Michael. Really, really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. It was great being able to sit back and kind of chat at the end here. Really enjoyed that. One of my favorite parts is being able to just kind of hang out and enjoy the end. So again, thank you for the great spread. We'll be enjoying that today, tomorrow, all the way through. And I really appreciate the quality that you do, and of course the time that you took. It was really a fun evening or afternoon. So cheers, and let's look at the calendar, get another date set, and get it up on the board.
Perfect. I'd love that. All right. Thank you, Michael. Have a great night.
All right, you too. Take care. All right, so tomorrow will be Cigar City. We'll have Neil on board, and he'll be talking about all the fun stuff that he's got. So we'll do beer pairing with some cheese, and I got a little extra charcuterie, so I might throw a little bit in there. So enjoy, and thanks a lot for coming in and spending a little time with us. All right, good night.